Oh, Stanley would be geeking out on this big time. He would have the latest camera, the latest everything. Look at that. That's really awesome, isn't it? That's really wonderful. Who makes it? How do you pronounce
CHIY.
that? Something Chinese.
No, I don't
Japanese
know.
or whatever. Oh, and it's got a tripod feet so you can put it down. Look at that. That is seriously cool.
Yeah.
I really like that. Yeah, that's expensive.
Not so much.
Not so much.
No.
Not as expensive as the iPhone.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like 200.
I'm impressed. It's cool.
Review present, Katharina Kubrick, daughter of Stanley Kubrick. Thank you so much.
Pleased to meet you.
Okay, for start, what does it mean to be daughter of Stanley Kubrick?
That's a big question.
Yeah, I know.
It means I had a very interesting childhood. That I lived in a house that was a film studio and an art school because my mother is an artist.
Yeah.
It was fascinating and I learned a great deal. I think Stanley was, before Google, he was Google. He knew everything. And he was very useful when I had to do my homework because he always knew the answers for everything. But it was great. I brought up in a showbiz household, but we didn't have a typical LA showbiz upbringing. So we had a relatively normal upbringing. And so it was not, I mean, I don't know, I can't compare it to anybody else's life really. It's my life.
Yeah, like a description, what kind of father he was. For example, I remember, Daddy used to walk around in the green toga.
Oh yeah, that was on Spartacus.
Yeah.
And we were living in California
Yeah.
all the time. And it was really comfortable. He just thought, this is cool, it's loose, it's cool. So he was fine, he loved it. It suited him actually, because it was the one that they were wearing on Spartacus.
Yeah.
So he just liked it.
And at home, how was Stanley?
Home was also work. So, you know, he set up his life so that he could sleep in his own bed at night. He could go into his office. He could come into the kitchen, have dinner with family, you know, play with the dogs, play with the cats, and then go back and do some work. And it was perfect. It was a perfect artist's environment. And we lived in the country in the end, and it was a peaceful place to work. It was great.
You grew up on set with your father. And how was he like collaborator, director on the set? Because when you was on the set, maybe he wasn't father, he was like a director of film.
Oh yes. It was. Stanley's set was a very quiet set. He was very quietly spoken. If he had to talk to the actors, they would just go off to one side or go into the trailer. They would discuss the scene that they were going to do. And because he had a very small crew and people who worked with him over and over again, they kind of all knew their jobs. But what was interesting, he had such authority. So for instance, if everybody went off for lunch and the set was dark, and he walked in again and he went, something's changed, the lights changed, and they were going, no, it's fine. And he went, no, and he would take his light meter out, and it's half a stop out, and then they would have to go look all the bulbs, and then one would be out. He knew what he was doing, and so they knew that he knew their jobs as well as they did, so they respected him.
Barry Lyndon.
Oh, I love that movie.
July.
I love Barry Lyndon. Well,
Which is your favorite movie?
You can't ask me that. You can't
Yes,
ask me
I
that.
know,
No,
but I
because
try.
each film represents my history.
Yeah.
But
Your childhood.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
life growing up. But Barry Lyndon was the first one I worked on. I was 19 and we were in Ireland, and Stanley looked at me and he said, now I have this 19-year-old teenager who's not doing anything, so you put me to work.
You searched location?
So I was looking for locations. So he had already taught me how to take photographs and use a camera, and he'd given me his old Nicomat. And so off I went with my script and my film, and I did that for a year. It was great. And then the film moved to England and I did it again. So I literally did muddy paths, stately homes, castles, churches, people's houses. It was so much fun.
Oh my God.
It was great. And the film is beautiful.
Really
that's
good.
another film that wasn't well received when it came out. He was very disappointed that people didn't love it. And now people are coming back and going, you know what?
Yeah.
This is a beautiful movie.
It's brilliant.
It's a beautiful movie. So.
A Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork Orange, I was 16. It still holds good. It's very relevant. It's how people treat each other. It's about corrupt governments. It's about how horrible people are. It's about tribes. Every single one of Stanley's films, I think,
Yeah.
are a mirror to the world and who we are as people. Look how you treat each other. Look how stupid you are. Look at terrible mistakes you make. It's like an overview, you know. And so sometimes
have to
people don't
realize
like them
this.
because they don't like to see their reflection in the mirror.
We don't like.
No.
In general.
No, generally no.
Yeah. And The Shining, one of the most scary movie in the story of cinema. And what type of relationship he had with fear, Stanley?
With fear.
Yeah.
I think he said to my mother one time that he wanted to make the most terrifying movie that people were so scared that they'd leave the cinema, and then he went, no, that's actually not a good idea, so let's cut that. So he just wanted to make a really scary film because he hadn't made a really scary film in that genre because he did war film, he did a science fiction movie, you know, so he wanted to try out a horror film. And I did ask him one day, I said, you know, do you believe in ghosts? And he said, well, not really, but if there are ghosts, then it means that when you die, it's not finished. Maybe there's something. So he couldn't decide whether he did or not believe in ghosts.
Ice White Chat, 1999, the adaptation of Arthur Schnitzler. Double Dream, no? As originally...
Dream Story.
Dream Story.
Yeah.
And it was the last movie for Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise together, like a couple, and last movie of Stanley. And I would like to ask you, how was on this set? There was something mysterious and strange on the set, I mean.
In what way? Strange in what way?
The feelings, I don't know, because it was very scandalous.
It's a very, very serious story looking at how human beings relate to each other. And we are all experts on sexual jealousy. We all have fantasies. We've had relationships that work or don't work. And it's something that everybody in the audience is an expert on.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a film more for older audiences who've had some life experience so that they know what that feels like, that they've experienced it. And that's why Stanley didn't make Eyes Wide Shut for 30 years. It tortured him. He didn't know how best to do it. And then finally, you know, he found the actors that he loved, that he thought had the skill and the talent to carry off those characters. It was the most difficult film he ever made, but it was also the film that was most important to him. So, but the atmosphere was very congenial. You know, they all got on, everything was fine. And what he allowed Tom and Nicole and all his actors to do is to explore their roles, to say, well, let's see how we can do this scene. Let's play it slightly differently. And if an actor came into the set one day and, I've had an idea, and Sonny said, okay, let's try it. He was not this, you know, dictatorial do it home. It's a collaboration. It's a meeting of imaginations. Let's see where we can take this very complicated scene. What does it mean? How are people going to receive it? How would you react? So he was very collaborative. I think actors loved working with him. The film was finished, bought some music, but he died and they didn't cut one frame. Nothing was cut. But he had a contractual obligation to Warner Brothers to have an R-rated movie. So everybody was tearing their hair out and they didn't know what to do. And then they said, okay, we have to put these digital figures in to the characters that the censor objected to. And they said to Stanley, you know, oh, you have to reshoot the scene. And Stanley said, oh, they're so ridiculous. They're not that stupid. But, you know, that's what it is. So Europe got to see the uncensored version, but nothing was cut from the movie. And if he had lived, he would have recut the film so that if, say, Tom Cruise is walking into the orgy, this sort of Hieronymus Bosch vision of hell, and they would have just probably cut back to Tom's reaction, you know, like, or something. But he wouldn't have put digital figures there or something. That was the least worst thing that we could do to the movie. And we were very pleased that Warner Brothers didn't cut the film, not one frame. So that's what they had to do. It's a very serious film. It talks to all of us, I think.
And last question, what do you miss from your father?
Everything. I miss not being able to call him. I miss that he didn't see my children growing up. I miss not being able to say, hey, Dad, look what just happened. I hate, you know, that my mother is lonely. Yeah. He's my dad. I miss him.
Thank you so much, Katharina.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. What can I say?